Alright, and we are recording. Let's try this one more time. This is about the sixth time that I've tried this now. I have to go through it pretty quickly or my computer will not actually save the file. It just like goes into some crazy shutdown mode, or I don't know, whatever goes on. Alright, I'm going to show you a bit about the patches here that I use for this song, and then finally you get to hear the song, at least a piece of it, a snippet as you wanted to hear. So we'll start with this chord stab, which I did send you, by the way, and it's just that sample from the refill that I bought at what's it called, Loop Masters. It's that, and I basically just loaded that in to an NXT, and then I put some unison on it to make it more wider, even more wider, whatever. And then I put some reverb on it. Dry wet of the unison 76, dry wet of the reverb 26. Then I put it into the compressor for who knows what reason, but it made it a little bit louder. And then I use the equalizer to cut out the lows for the bass and the kick. And I did scoop out a bit at 1.3 kilohertz for my clap and snare. You know, that way they're not fighting for, I don't know if you know how that works. I take this out and then my clap and snare can actually pierce through the audio a little better instead of having to fight with this instrument for room. And then what I did after that was, let me turn this on, but mute it. So everything went from the NXT to the unison to the reverb to the compressor to the equalizer, and then out of the equalizer into the spider, the input of the spider audio merger and splitter, and I put it into the splitter section so that I can then split it into the, like, you know, I have more than one output for it now. One of them went into the mixer here, and the other one went into the phaser, and from the phaser back into the mixer, and now I have two separate sounds. Of course, the first one and then the one coming from the phaser. Together they sound like, alright, so there's that. The beat, nothing special. I just chose the sounds that I thought were cool. Put it into a maximizer so it doesn't, or use the limiter on the maximizer so that it doesn't ever go over 0 dB. Sidechain, I've explained this so many times, I'm starting to get bored. Hopefully it works this time, but alright, so you get a redrum and you load up the sample, the same sample that you're using as the kick in your song, into this one here. And then you don't actually hook up the combinator to anything, but you do take the stereo out of the redrum and put it into a spider audio merge and splitter into the input here. And then one of the outputs goes into another spider audio, or actually, should I say, all of the outputs of this one each go into their own spider audio merge and splitter. This is for the sidechain. So now that makes, for example, all four of these and all four of these and all four of these. And these 4 2 here that are actually being used, they're the only ones that I used. Those are now outputs for the kick drum that go into, each of them can go into their own, like whatever you want to be sidechained. So for me, I sidechained this chord stab, I sidechained some white noise that I'll explain later. I sidechained the bass and my lead synth, and then so they go into the dynamics section. Just so you remember again, into the dynamics sidechain input. And then you go up to your mixer, and then whatever you want sidechained, and make sure that all that's plugged in. Then you turn on the compressor, set the settings however you want them. I prefer fast attack, and then a high ratio. And now every time this kick goes off, the volume of those sounds will be, you know, turned down temporarily. You know how sidechaining works already. You've done this before. What I did do as well is I took the gate out of Kong's drum kick, so drum 1, which is this. Took the gate out of that and fed that into the gate in of this drum, so that every time this is activated, so is the this kick here, which activates the sidechain. Alright. The bass, simple, 3 analog oscillators. Took one up, left one at 4, or both actually took one up and left the other 2 at 4. Put the first 2 to sine wave, and the last one into a here. Actually, let me show you how that sounds. Or actually, and then I put this one into a saw wave. I mean, a square wave, and set the pulse width to 63, so it's a perfect square wave. So to give it a little more edge. Oh, I haven't bypassed all the effects. Why is that so low? I have no idea why that's so low, but anyway, I put some chorus on it to widen it up. And then took that into the scream to give it some distortion. P1 79, P2 77, and as you can see, this lets you know what each one of these pieces, the parameters, are controlling. So for scream, you're controlling tone and frequency, and if you were to do, for example, warp, you control sharpness and then the bias. Damage control took that down and made a little cut of the high end, just so that there's no high end in my bass, or there's some, but I don't want there to be too much. And then pretty much these settings, I just went with what I felt was best. Fed that into a pulverizer, then a maximizer so that it doesn't go over 0 dB, and then finally a stereo imager. Oh, there was my problem. I forgot to put this back to normal. Okay, so basically, so the low band, so anything that's considered, if I solo the low band, I'm monoing that, so that's going to be centered in the stereo field, and then my high band, I'm pushing that off to the sides of the stereo field, which is how this is how the stereo imager works. But you only do it slightly. You don't want to overdo the stereo imager, otherwise it starts to sound unnatural. And the X determines where the cutoff between the high and low band is. So if I had it set to there, that means anything below 6 kilohertz is going to be considered part of the low band, which you don't want that. All right. The lead, the Gangsta lead, that's part of the factory sound bank. And all I really did, I just loaded up that patch just called Gangsta Lead under like all instruments, lead synth, Gangsta Lead 2, and I put some unison and reverb on it. Dry wet up one. I left this pretty high up on the unison, and then took the dry wet of the reverb down to 22. The pad. Nothing too special. The Cosmo Pad 3 is also part of the factory sound bank. I did move this attack down because if I realized that if I had it all the way, if it was up, it was pretty high up. And when you lower it, it goes from sounding like it takes forever to open up to opening up much faster. And that's pretty much it. Put some unison and reverb on there, just like the lead synth, just to widen it up, and then give it some reverb like I do. And then a filter, just in case I want to automate the filter into anything. This one, this is the original sound, is from the factory sound bank under Prince board percussion loops. I just put some reverb on that. That's pretty much it. Oh, and then the sweep. That's the sound. It's really just white noise. So the noise oscillator, and then fed into the low pass filter, and then resonance kind of high, not too high though, you don't want it to get really noisy, and then you automate the frequency to go from low to high, which is what gives you that swooshy sound. Chorus to widen it up, and I still wanted it to be a little bit wider, so I did this again. Unison and reverb is just what I like to do. White noise, that's just literally just sound. It's that sound there, and it is exactly what it says it is. It's just a noise oscillator, white noise, frequency, low pass, or the filter all the way up, resonance 16, and that's pretty much it. I sidechain that, and if you remember, all you do with the sidechain is this dynamic section into one of those spider audio merger and splitters that I talked about earlier. Piano, simple. Concert grand piano from the factory sound bank. It's one of my favorites. And then I fed that into an echo, left everything pretty much the same except the dry wet. I took down to 36, and this offset, the right channel, I offset the right channel by 1/64 of a beat so that the echo of the right channel comes in slightly after the left. Just makes it sound a little wider. Reverb again, because I do reverb for everything. Alright, now for the master section. I don't like to touch this too much because I don't want to mess up the sound, but I did take the high shelf up by a little bit. You can see it goes up just slightly, just to even it out. I again stereo imager, mono out a little bit of the lows and widen up the highs. Compress it just slightly, made it just a bit louder, nothing too crazy. And then the maximizer, with the maximizer I did take the input gain up by 2 dB, but I hit the limiter on so that nothing goes over 0 dB. Pretty much it. All right, yeah, that's really it. I'll play this for you. I hope you enjoy. Alright, well I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope it helped. If you want to see more videos like this, let me know. Hopefully I can make more for you, and hopefully they work out. This one's been pretty tough to make, but anyway, that's it. So later.